Book 0, Article 2, The Joyful Heart. I have a covenant with joy. May joy become my inner state. Rumi says, I have a covenant with joy. May joy become my inner state. I have a promise with the beloved. May the beloved become my very being. Arya-Mithra is an ancient mystical path of the Iranian and Iranic world. It belongs to the world of the magi, the shamans, the fire keepers, the singers, the dancers, the lovers, and the seekers, who knew the body as a temple and the heart as a place of ascent. This path moved through the Iranian plateau, Anatolia, Asia Minor, and the wider world of Iranian and Iranic peoples. Its memory survived in hymns, sacred mountains, festivals, poetry, the living body of culture, and even in royal names such as Mithridates and Mehr, meaning given by Mithra. This path is pre-Zarathustrian. More precisely, it predates Mazdisna or Mazdiyazna as a formal religious system. It is rooted in the ancient Iranian experience of light, covenant, rhythm, nature, fire, earth, sky, and the unseen world. But Arya-Mithra was never destroyed. It was scattered. It was shattered. It was adopted, renamed, hidden, and transformed. But it did not die. It survived in Sufism. It survived in Persian Gnosticism. It survived in Persian poetry. It survived in songs, festivals, stories, oral memories, sacred images, carved stones, painted vessels, music, dance, and the living body of Iranian culture. Mehr, from the Middle Persian word mir, carries the Iranian continuation of the Avestan Mithra. In modern Persian, Mitra also survives as a personal name. These forms are not foreign to Persian memory. They belong to the deep Iranian vocabulary of covenant, light, friendship, love, radiance, and sacred bond. Mithra was so great in the Iranian world that even after the rise of the later Mazdiyazna tradition, the Avesta preserved a hymn to him, the Mir Yasht, the hymn of Mithra. The old fire could not simply be erased. It had to be carried forward. Hafez, Rumi, Khayyam, Ferdowsi, Sadi, Rudaki, and many other Persian poets and mystics kept fragments of this fire alive. Sometimes they spoke openly. Sometimes they hid the teaching between wine, tavern, beloved, garden, spring, nightingale, music, mirror, and dance. Article 1 spoke of freedom. Article 2 speaks of the heart. Because the Arya-Mithra path is not only a path of liberation, it is a path of the heart. It is a path of lovers, lovers of truth, lovers of life, lovers of beauty, lovers of existence, and lovers of the highest possibility hidden inside the human being. And the first secret of the heart is this: a heavy heart cannot rise. The heart as the mirror of Mehr. In the Arya-Mithra path, the heart is not merely an organ of emotion. The heart is a sacred center. It is the inner chamber of the human temple. It is the bridge between earth and sky. It is the place where the lower fire of life and the higher light of consciousness can meet. It is the mihrab within the body, the place of ascent. The lower center, the hara, the dantian, the gut, the place of shakti and life force, holds the root of energy. The third eye opens toward vision, intuition, and higher seeing. Between them stands the heart. The heart is the bridge. The heart is also the place of ignition. The seed does not awaken in a dead field. The flame does not rise from a frozen chamber. Something must become warm, alive, and ready. In the Arya-Mithra path, ignition takes place in the joyful, light, high-vibration heart. Joy is not an ornament added after awakening. Joy is part of the fuel of awakening. In its sacred geometry, the heart can be imagined as a living star, a meeting of the upward and downward movements, a harmony between matter and spirit, body and vision, earth and sky. When this center is blocked, the inner orbit is interrupted. When it is clear, open, and joyful, the current can flow. Hafez gives us the perfect image. The dust of cruelties has settled on my heart. O God, do not allow the mirror of my Mehr to become clouded. Mehr means the path, order, or sacred way of Mehr. This is one of the most precious lines for the Arya-Mithra Path. The heart is the mirror of Mehr, Mithra. The heart must remain clear enough to reflect light. Cruelty, grief, oppression, bitterness, fear, and sorrow gather upon it like dust. If this dust remains, the mirror becomes dim. It no longer reflects the radiance of Mithra. It no longer sees clearly. It no longer hears clearly. It no longer loves freely. This is why the joyful heart matters. Not because life has no pain, not because the seeker has no wounds, but because sorrow must not be allowed to darken the mirror of Mehr within. Joy is not the absence of wounds. The joyful heart is not a heart that has never suffered. It is a heart that has suffered and still refuses to become a prison. This distinction is important. Many people think joy means life is easy. They think a joyful person has not been wounded, betrayed, disappointed, exiled, broken, or forced to begin again. But this is not the joy of the Arya-Mithra Path. The joy of this path is deeper than circumstance. It is an inner fire. It is a value. It is the way the heart remains alive and luminous in the middle of existence. Hafez says, "Bring a smiling lip, even with a bleeding heart like the cup. Do not, because a wound reaches you, cry out like a harp." This is not denial. This is strength. The image is exact. The cup carries red wine within it, like the blood of a sorrowful heart, yet its lip still appears as a smile. Hafez does not say the heart has no wound. He says, even if the heart is bloody with sorrow, bring the smiling lip of the cup. This is not denial. It is mastery of the heart. Pain may fill the inner chamber, but pain must not become the ruler of the whole being. A Mithraic person is not joyful because life has been easy. A Mithraic person is joyful because they know the sacred place of the heart. And this is why the joyful heart is also a brave heart. It knows that sorrow does not last forever. It knows that death is not the end of the mystery. It knows that existence moves in cycles. Darkness is followed by light. Winter opens into spring. The valley is not the whole journey. The joyful heart is brave because it trusts the movement of life. Warrior joy. Joy in the Arya-Mithra Path is not passive. It is not soft weakness. It is not escape. It is not pretending that darkness does not exist. Joy becomes the golden shield of the heart. Hafez says, "Come, let us scatter flowers and pour wine into the cup. Let us break open the roof of the sky and cast a new design." And then he says, "If grief raises an army to spill the blood of lovers, the Sagi and I will ride together and overthrow its foundation." The Persian word Sagi is usually translated as cupbearer, but it carries more than that. In Persian mystical poetry, the Sagi is the giver of wine, the one who offers the cup that changes the state of the heart, loosens ordinary consciousness, and opens the lover toward a higher awareness. This is the joyful heart. Not a heart that begs grief for mercy, not a heart that kneels before sorrow, not a heart that lets darkness build its throne inside the chest. This is the heart that rises. If grief raises an army, the lover and the Saki ride against it. If sorrow wants to rule existence, joy scatters flowers, pours wine, breaks the roof of the sky, and creates a new design. This is why Hafez belongs to Arya-Mithra. He does not teach a dead spirituality. He teaches fire, wine, song, courage, laughter, love, and rebellion against the empire of sorrow. When grief nails the feet to the earth. In the Saki Name, Hafez gives another image. O singer, tune the melody of joy. Begin the tale with song and ghazal. The burden of my grief has sewn my feet to the earth. With the beat of rhythm, raise me from my place. This is the entire teaching. Grief nails the feet to the earth. Rhythm raises the human being. Hafez does not ask for doctrine. He asks for music powerful enough to lift him. He calls for the singer, the ney, the dath, the chang, the old royal song, the memory of Barbad, and the rhythm that brings the body into movement. In Hafez, music is not entertainment. It is medicine. It is resurrection. For Arya-Mithra, this is essential. Joy is not the denial of grief. Joy is the rhythm that raises the human being when grief has nailed the feet to the earth. Rumi, a covenant with joy. Rumi speaks directly. I have a covenant with joy. May joy become my inner state. I have a promise with the beloved. May the beloved become my very being. This is not ordinary happiness. This is joy as covenant. Rumi speaks of joy as a state of being, an inner atmosphere, a sacred condition of the soul. His covenant is not with passing happiness. It is with a way of existing. In the second line, the beloved is not merely outside him. The beloved becomes John, the living essence, the soul, the life, the very being of the seeker. This is the mystical movement. Joy becomes the inner state, and the beloved becomes the very being. This is the Arya-Mithra understanding. The joyful heart has chosen its orientation. It has decided not to belong to despair. It has entered into friendship with the beloved, with life, and with the inner sun. Rumi also says, the joy that the world brings into your heart has no real worth. True joy is the sweetness born from the heart itself. Borrowed happiness depends on the world. Praise, possession, success, approval, comfort, beauty, victory. But the joy that rises from the heart itself is different. It is not given by the world, so the world cannot easily take it away. This is the joyful heart of Arya-Mithra, not a mood, but an inner sun. Khayyam, the joyful heart in the passing world. Khayyam also carries this current. His joy is not ignorance. It is not carelessness. It is the wisdom of impermanence. He says, O friend, come, let us not grieve over tomorrow. Let us treasure this single breath of life. Tomorrow, when we leave this house of passing things, we shall sit beside those who lived 7,000 years before us. For Khayyam, death is not a shadow placed upon the heart. It is a bell of awakening. He uses death to call the heart back into the present moment. Why grieve over tomorrow before tomorrow has arrived? Why abandon this one living breath? Why give the heart to a sorrow that does not yet exist? Again he says, O heart, when time makes you sorrowful, the pure life of your soul may suddenly leave the body. Sit upon the grass and live gladly for a few days, before grass grows from the dust of you. Khayyam is not telling us to forget death. He is saying something sharper. Do not let sorrow kill the living soul before the body dies. Sit upon the grass while the body is still alive. Live gladly for the few days given to you, before your own body becomes the dust from which grass will grow. This is not despair. This is presence. This is the wisdom of the living moment. And in another quatrain, he says, Wine drinking and being joyful is my ayin, my sacred way. Being free from disbelief and religion is my religion. I asked the bride of time, What is your dowry? She said, Your dele koram, your joyful heart, is my dowry. The phrase dele koram is central here. It means the joyful, flourishing, glad, living heart. Khayyam does not place joy beside the path. He calls it ayin, a way, a sacred manner, a mode of life. The world does not ask for your misery. The bride of time asks for your joyful heart. Live joyfully in the passing world. The Iranian mystics and poets understood one truth very deeply. The world is passing. Joy passes. Sorrow passes. Bitterness passes. Sweetness passes. Night passes. Day passes. Nothing in this world remains fixed forever. Life is movement. Reality is flow. The heart that understands this does not become careless. It becomes wise. It stops making life heavier than it already is. Long before Hafez and many of the later Persian mystics, Rudaki, one of the earliest great voices of Persian poetry, had already expressed this wisdom with luminous simplicity. Rudaki says, Live joyfully with the dark-eyed beloveds. Live joyfully, for the world is nothing but a tale and a breath of wind. This is not shallow pleasure. It is wisdom. Rudaki is not saying that life has no meaning. He is saying that life is passing. The world is like a tale, like a breath of wind, like something that appears and disappears. Therefore, do not surrender your whole heart to grief. Do not build a prison from what is temporary. Hafez offers another image of this passing world. Sit beside the stream and watch the passing of life. This single sign from the fleeting world is enough for us. The stream does not ask life to stop. It reveals that life is movement. Sorrow passes, joy passes, the body passes, the season passes, the flower passes, the night passes. To live joyfully is to understand impermanence. When the heart sees this clearly, it stops wasting the briefness of life in sorrow. Hafez deepens this teaching through the language of freedom from attachment. Come, for the palace of hope is built upon fragile ground. Bring the wine, for the foundation of life is cast upon the wind. And then, I am devoted to that person of noble spirit who, beneath the blue sky, remains free from all that bears the color of attachment. This is one of the hidden roots of the joyful heart. The joyful heart is light because it is not chained to the passing world. It lives in the world, but it does not belong to the world. It enters the great theater of existence, but it does not forget that the scene is always changing. When attachment becomes too strong, the heart becomes heavy. When the world is taken too seriously, its tragedies, losses, victories, praises, insults, and disappointments begin to rule the inner life. The heart becomes tied to the stage, and every change in the play becomes a wound. But the joyful heart remains freer than this. It knows, this too will pass. This sorrow will pass. This sweetness will pass. This night will pass. This scene will pass. This is not indifference, it is freedom. The joyful heart can remain awake because it is not imprisoned by attachment. It can remain luminous because it is not bound to every passing form. It can dance with life because it does not demand that life become fixed. Hafez says elsewhere, Hafez, since both the sorrow and the joy of this world are passing, it is better that I keep my own heart joyful. And Khayyam says, drink wine, for this is the only eternal life. This is all that finally remains of the season of youth. It is the time of flowers, wine, and friends made drunk with joy. Be joyful for one breath, for this is life. The same current appears again. Do not let the passing world steal the joy of the heart. The world is moving. The scene is changing. The stream is flowing. The seeker lives in the world, but does not become possessed by it. The seeker loves life, but does not chain the heart to what cannot remain. This is why joy is a form of freedom, and this is why the joyful heart can rise. The childlike heart. Children live this better than adults. A child can cry deeply and then laugh 5 minutes later. A child can fall, rise, forget, and begin again. A child does not carry yesterday as a burden. Children simply live closer to the immediate pulse of existence. The joyful heart keeps this childlike capacity to return to life. Childlike, not childish. Childishness refuses responsibility. Childlikeness keeps the light alive. A childlike heart can wonder, begin again, trust the moment, and return to joy without dragging the whole past behind it. A light heart makes a person childlike. A heart trapped in the past becomes heavy. A heart trapped in the future becomes anxious. A heart that returns to the present becomes available to life. This is why joy carries a high vibration. When the heart is joyful, it sends a frequency of liveliness through the whole being. The face changes, the breath changes, the body changes, the eyes change. The inner atmosphere changes. Life recognizes life. The joyful heart participates in the living current. The Iranian calendar, sacred celebration. The joyful heart is not only in poetry, it is woven into Iranian culture. The old Iranian calendar is full of celebrations: Nowruz, Mergan, Sadeh, Shabi Chela, also called Yalda, Tirgan, Sarushgan, and many others. These are not random festivals. They are ways of aligning the human heart with cosmic rhythm. The Iranian soul understood life and time as cyclical. Darkness comes, but light returns. Winter comes, but the sun is reborn. The flower disappears, but spring returns. The night may be long, but it is not final. Shabi Chela, commonly also called Yalda, is the longest night of the year. In the Arya-Mithra reading, this night is also Zayeshi Mehr, the birth of light, the return of the sun, and the promise that darkness does not have the final word. Standing at the threshold of winter, Shabi Chela teaches one of the deepest Iranian wisdoms. Even the longest darkness is not final. On this night, Iranians gather, tell stories, read poetry, and eat red fruits like pomegranate and watermelon. The red remembers the sun, blood, warmth, and the return of light. The message of Shabi Chela is simple. Do not despair in the longest night. The sun is returning. This is the Iranian wisdom of cycles. The heart must not become fixed in one season of life. The seeker must learn to move with the turning of existence. Ferdowsi. Nowruz as joy, renewal, and the memory of the ancient path. Ferdowsi preserves this ancient memory in the Shahnameh. In the story of Jamshid, Nowruz appears not merely as the beginning of a calendar year, but as the naming of a new day, a renewal of life, and a celebration woven into the rhythm of time. From the time of Jamshid, this day is remembered as a day of beauty, gathering, music, wine, and joy. Ferdowsi says, "They scattered jewels upon Jamshid and called that day Nowruz. And then, the great ones adorned themselves with joy. They called for wine, cups, and musicians. And this blessed celebration remained from that time, a remembrance from the ancient kings." This is not a minor cultural ornament. It is one of the ways the older Iranian path survived. When the new day arrives, the people do not greet it with sorrow, fear, or heaviness. They gather, they make music, they drink, they celebrate. They recognize the turning of time not as a burden, but as renewal. Here we can see that the joyful heart was not foreign to Iranian spirituality. It was carried inside the culture itself. Nowruz preserved the memory that life moves in cycles, that darkness gives way to light, that winter gives way to spring, and that human beings are meant to answer renewal with joy. In this sense, Nowruz is not only a festival, it is a living vessel of Arya-Mithra memory, the return of life, the beauty of the world, the rhythm of time, and the sacred right to rejoice. Mehr, joy after darkness. Ferdowsi also preserves the memory of Mehr, the festival of Mithra, covenant, harvest, justice, and liberation. After a time of darkness, Ferdowsi says, "The age became free from sorrow and evil. Then, they cleared the heart from conflicts and made a new festival. And the wise sat joyful, each holding a ruby cup." Ferdowsi continues, "He ordered fire to be kindled, ambergris and saffron were burned, and then comes a remarkable line, to honor Mehr is his sacred way. Ease of body and eating are its ayin, its right." This is a deep Iranian memory. After darkness is overcome, the people do not build a culture of permanent grief. They create a festival. They clear the heart from conflict. They light fire. They burn fragrance. They eat. They drink. They gather. They make the world beautiful again. This is exactly why Mehr matters for Arya-Mithra. The ancient path was not preserved only in doctrines or books. It was preserved in the living body of culture, in celebration, in seasonal festivals, in the sacredness of gathering, in fire and fragrance, in the cup, in music, in food, in the joyful heart. Mehr teaches that joy can be an act of liberation. When evil and darkness are overcome, the answer is not endless sorrow. The answer is the restoration of life. To celebrate is to declare that darkness has not won. The joyful heart of the warrior. In the Shahnameh, Ferdowsi preserves another part of the ancient Arya-Mithra path. The heart of the true warrior is not a joyless heart. The Iranian warrior, the Pahlavan, is not a dry machine of battle, iron, and blood. He carries courage, discipline, and strength, yet he is never separated from beauty, music, gathering, and joy. In the Iranian heroic imagination, a warrior is not made complete through razm, battle, alone. He must also know bazm, the feast, celebration, and joyful gathering. Ferdowsi expresses the rhythm of the Iranian heroic life in a single line. Today, bazm, the feast. Tomorrow, razm, the battle. This is not weakness, it is balance. The Pahlavan knows battle, but he also knows Ramesh, music, joy, rhythm, and the beauty of gathering. His courage does not make him hard or lifeless. His strength does not exile the joyful heart. This is important for the Arya-Mithra Path because it does not divide life into false opposites: courage against joy, strength against beauty, discipline against celebration. In this ancient Iranian path, the whole human being must remain alive. The warrior must never lose the heart. This memory still survives in the Zurkhaneh, the house of strength. The Pahlavan moves with rhythm, the drum, poetry, breath, and turning. Strength is trained through sound. The body becomes disciplined, but never mechanical. Powerful, but never lifeless. Here, Ferdowsi is not being quoted merely as literature. He is preserving a spiritual and cultural memory. The Arya-Mithra ideal of the joyful warrior. The one who can stand in razm without losing bazm, who can carry courage without becoming cruel, and who can carry joy without escaping responsibility. This is one of the deepest Iranian teachings. Courage without joy becomes hardness. Joy without courage becomes escape. The joyful heart must hold both. Before doctrine, there was rhythm. Before theology, there was fire, drum, breath, movement, trance, song, body, and the living earth. The Arya-Mithra current carries deep shamanic roots. Dance, music, ceremony, fire, offerings, nature, and altered states of consciousness are not external decorations. They are part of the path of direct experience. This is why the Arya-Mithra Path does not begin with blind belief. It begins with the living body, the living heart, the living breath, and the living flame. A person can read 1,000 books and still remain heavy, but one true moment of rhythm, one true moment of song, one true moment of heart-opening joy can move the soul from darkness toward light. In Taoism, there is a beautiful practice called the inner smile. The practitioner gently smiles inward, allowing that smile to reach the heart, the inner organs, and eventually the whole body. It is a way of softening the whole being from within, and bringing the body into harmony instead of conflict. This resonates deeply with the Arya-Mithra understanding of the joyful heart. Joy is not merely an emotion, it is an inner orientation toward life. It says to existence, "I am not at war with you." The joyful heart remains open instead of contracted, trusting instead of fearful, and ready to participate in the living dance of existence, not rejection of the world. The Arya-Mithra Path does not reject the world. It does not say that the earth is a mistake. It does not teach hatred of the body, hatred of pleasure, hatred of beauty, or hatred of life. It does not tell the seeker to become dry, bitter, and heavy in the name of religions. This path works with the world. It works with fire, water, earth, sky, body, breath, rhythm, love, pleasure, beauty, courage, and knowledge. It works with the visible and the invisible together. It is magical in this sense, not fantasy, but alignment. The seeker aligns the inner world with the larger cosmos. The heart must be open for this alignment. A blocked heart cannot receive. A poisoned heart cannot hear. A frozen heart cannot rise. The joyful heart is the heart that remains available to life. Khorram Dinan, the joyful ones. The word Khorram means joyful, flourishing, glad, green, and alive. This word matters. In the name Khorram Dinan, I hear the echo of a joyful path. A path that does not worship misery, heaviness, or spiritual slavery. Whether we look at Khayyam's Delhi Khorram, Rudaki's call to live joyfully, the joyous festivals of Iran, the music of Hafez, the dance of Rumi, the celebration of Nowruz and Mehr, or the rhythm of Zurkhaneh, the same path appears again and again. The heart must remain koram. A flourishing heart cannot be easily enslaved. A joyful heart is harder to break. A heart that remembers song, fire, rhythm, and the return of the sun cannot be fully possessed by darkness. Joy and death. The joyful heart is also a heart that has begun to make peace with death. Khayyam reminds us that the body will return to dust and grass. Hafez sends songs and greetings to the departed. Send the drunken ones the good news of a song. Send greetings to the friends who have gone. In the Arya-Mithra Path, death is not treated as a shadow placed upon the heart. It is treated as a bell of awakening. Death tells us, do not postpone life. Do not grieve over tomorrow before tomorrow arrives. Do not let the living moment pass unlived. In the later stages of the path, the seeker becomes a friend of death. This does not mean loving destruction. It means understanding that death is not the end of the mystery. When the fear of death loosens, the heart becomes stronger. The person walks with clearer aim. Life becomes more precious, not less. The joyful heart knows that nothing in this world stays forever, and this is exactly why it sings. The value of the joyful heart. The joyful heart is not a decoration of the path. It is one of its central values. The Arya-Mithra person values the joyful heart because they know its sacred function. The heart is the mirror of Mehr. It is the bridge, the mihrab, the chamber of ascent, the living star between earth and sky. A heavy heart cannot rise. A poisoned heart cannot hear. A closed heart cannot love. A frozen heart cannot flow. The joyful heart is not a heart that avoids darkness. It is a heart that knows darkness is not final. It knows the secret of the cycles. No night is eternal. No winter is eternal. No grief has the right to become the ruler of the soul. The joyful heart is the heart of the seeker who remembers light. It dances, but it also listens. It smiles, but it also sees. It celebrates, but it also protects. It loves life, but it does not fear death. It suffers, but it does not surrender its throne to sorrow. This is why joy is sacred. The joyful heart is not weakness. The joyful heart is not denial. The joyful heart is not escape. The joyful heart is brave. The joyful heart is the heart that can rise.